Hello everybody, it is me, Marina Martinez-Bateman. I am the CEO of New Coyote Consulting. We are an equity and communications consulting firm here in the Pacific Northwest. We practice anti-capitalism, and I frequently end my videos with this phrase: have a walk, have a lunch, have a work weekend, don't work for free. And I've had some people ask about that recently. A lot of it is really relevant to the nonprofit industry right now. A lot of us are unsure how we're going to be able to compensate our people for the inevitable increase in need that we're going to be facing. And we are an industry that already doesn't tend to compensate people super well. So let's talk about how we view compensation here at New Coyote and how that compares to sort of like capitalist tradition. So because we're talking about compensation and we're talking about labor, we're going to start with sort of like saleable skills, right? And these are the things that you know how to do, that you trade for money in the open market. It can be being a cash register operator, or it can be being an astrophysicist. Doesn't really matter. In terms of capital, it's all the same. And then let's talk about emotional labor. These are the things we do for each other. These are the, watching our baby cousins so that our, sister can get a date night, or our auntie can get a date night, or whatever. These are also making food for each other, being there for one another, supporting one another, etc., etc. These things frequently intermix, especially under capitalism, where the entire goal of the whole system is to create capital. It doesn't really matter how. So that's how we get, the expectation of emotional labor from retail workers, right? Like, people expect retail workers to greet them with a smile. Why? The fact that a person who is selling me this coffee is smiling does not make the coffee any better or worse, right? Speaking of coffee, I'm going to take a little drink of mine, but let's go with it. So in general, in capitalism, you spend your skills and time and knowledge, you put that out into the market, kind of a lot of it, right? A lot. So let's make this line thicker. We put a big amount of our professional labor into the market. And by professional, I don't mean like the snotty, it has to have a college degree. I just mean the thing you do for work. We put a ton of that into the market, where it creates a shitload of capital, right? We create all the money. We workers create all the money in the world. There it is, all the money in the world. Obviously, if it were really all the money in the world, it would, be bigger than this city, where basically it goes into the black hole of rich people's bullshit. And then for our efforts, we're not totally uncompensated. We get a little bit back in the form of pay, right? So to clarify, we work, we create capital, the rich hoard capital. We are paid less than we create, right? That is how this works. It's not, I'm not, just sort of snottily saying, oh, we're always paid less than we're worth. That's the nature of the system. That is capitalism in itself. In order for capitalism to work, we must be paid less than our labor is worth, or else this capital would not be created for the rich to hoard. Meanwhile, on the social emotional side of things, we end up spending a lot of our social emotional labor on necessities, right? We cook for our family. We, jump in and feed our neighbors' dogs when they get called back to work at the last minute. We, we keep our house clean and tidy instead of paying someone else who maybe would rather do that job because we can't afford it. Because again, we are paid less than we make. We are paid less than we create. And then, of course, because we're social creatures, we also get social emotional labor back from our community members. But these two things live in separate worlds, right? Here is the money world, here's the social world. So here is, we spend and receive social emotional labor to close the gap. That's not always, right? There's still things we can do. We can go be creative and crafty and all these other things. We can throw baby showers and it's not totally the only way we spend social emotional capital, but frequently our social emotional capital is relegated to ways to close the gap that capitalism cannot do. And then because, of course, we are paid less than we create, we also, let me just get a tiny little line. In order to survive, we must pay less for things than they're worth. Let's see. We must pay lower than fair rates, right? Now let's look at anti-capitalism. And a lot of things on this side are going to sound familiar and they're going to look familiar. That's because they are anti-capitalist practices. So under anti-capitalism, we still work. We're not going to not work. There's going to be things to do. There's going to be callings. There's going to be important missions, projects, whatever, interests. So we still work, right? We work. But instead of being hoarded by capitalists, our compensation is fair. It goes right back to us. It's exactly the same length or the same size, right? We are fairly compensated. And then what that means, because we are fairly compensated, that means we can fairly compensate others, right? We pay fair rates. And then because we fairly compensate others, the people in the market, they can thrive. This is an active market. It's sending out money and opportunity and interests and growth and early childhood education and all this stuff, right? That is a market that has money coming in and out of it. I'm going to put some in arrows too, right? That is a live, vibrant market that has people who are being fairly compensated and doing work to the degree that they're being compensated, investing in the market in the level that they can. Not everybody's going to be exactly the same. And then we have this vibrant market that's like a thriving thing. The market and then on the social emotional, we have so many options, right? We can pay out emotional labor, right? We still like our cousins' kids. We want to hang out with them. So we'll go and watch them. So our cousin can get a date night, or whoever I said, the auntie. And then we have emotional labor coming back in. We also have we also have money changing hands. And then we also have, because we're not constrained, we have expertise going out too and coming back. And we have other people's expertise coming back, right? Maybe I watch my cousin's kids for her. Maybe I'm a professional nanny and I come and watch the kids. So she does my hair because she's a hairstylist, right? We have work for trade. And then we have social emotional labor. It doesn't have to be, like, I think that most people's economies, the reality of most individual people's economies is over here. We're always doing things like this, right? Because it's down here. What is happening with anti-capitalism is that because we're being compensated fairly on this official work level, we have this thriving market. We have these better choices where we can say, look, cousin, I know I love your kids, but I'm not going to be able to watch them tonight. I have a cold. And your cousin can be like, no problem, I'll get a nanny, right? Or I'll get a sitter. We have choices over here in this side. We have a lot more leeway. We don't have to trade social emotional things in order to keep the fucking wheels on the bus. We can trade social emotional things because it's more satisfying, or because that's just how our social circle is, or whatever. And then when we're not trading social emotional things, we're paying fair rate for things. We're shopping at stores that pay their workers a living wage. The workers that are getting a living wage can go invest in other things. They're going into the market. They're getting gardening services, or they're getting their hair dyed, or they're getting their nails done, or they're coming to our business. And when I say don't work for free, this is what I mean. Don't work without compensation. Don't work without an investment in the market. Don't work for free, right? We're doing a ton of work under capitalism, and we're not getting properly compensated for that. We are working for free in this system. We are working for the black hole of the money that the rich hoard, either in offshore bank accounts or their own bank accounts, or luxury goods that don't benefit the world. In fact, a lot of these like private jets and yachts and stuff are polluting the world. Like, this is what I mean when I say don't work for free. So have a lunch, have a walk, have a weekend. Don't work for free. See you later.